get the first month bill?
I've gotten some, yep.
Do they come, they don't come quarterly?
Mm-mm.
Monthly?
Yep.
Um,
Once, I don't know what to say. I know we've gotten some though. And it should be, yeah.
What is it normally, Kim, called? Remember?
I don't.
Is it the $28 one for AT&T?
It's more than that. That was like $100 and some.
Be some rebates being applied, so I wonder if that's the. That's the battery.
Oh, he's not. Yeah.
Or he's in a different time zone, maybe. Randomly check.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the clock to strike now.
I'll randomly check for Kevin, but he isn't on yet.
It is now.
Okay, it's 9 a.m. and I will call this meeting of the Waupaca County Law Enforcement Committee to order at the training room at the Sheriff's Office, formerly known as Room 1115. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statute so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. And due to COVID-19, the meeting is conducted under the Waupaca County Resolution Number 8, 2021, and Governor Evers' Emergency Order Number 1. I will not read the following information because that is all posted online and you can see it there. With that, the agenda, I have called it to order. I've given the open meeting statement. Roll call shows that members are present with Kevin Will zooming in. And so when he arrives, we would like him to announce his presence. With that, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda. And please speak your name and then what your motion. And speak loudly so that the camera and microphone may pick it up.
Mary Kay, I move for approval.
Lee Muck, I second it.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Minutes of the previous meeting, I need a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, Cindy Hardy.
Okay,
Kevin, second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comment. We have a public person in the room. Would you like to comment? No. Okay. With that, we will move to the bill. First of all, is there anything you'd like to point out to us?
Yeah, just the, page 3. By uniform shop. It'll be for one of our officers who's now honor guard. And Class A uniform for the new hire. Anything else?
And that brings me then to a question. Do we provide a first uniform for everybody? As I drove past the people, the officers who were taking me through the roundabout, I thought, as only a mother would, do they have old caps they can pull on?
No, we provide the Class A uniform, which would be this one here.
Okay, so other,
The other ones are bought off their uniform allowance.
Okay. thank you. Any other questions from committee members?
On page 1, we have the canteen fees. That's in parentheses, 11,000. Is that what we get back from them? Then it's in parentheses as a negative, as I read it that way, or what?
Correct. The way that they bill us is they give us a lump sum bill, let's say 28,000. I'll show in parentheses what our commissions are.
Okay.
So that's takes off the lump sum of that bill. So that's what we're getting back
Yeah.
from the company, and I'll actually have it in my report.
No, no, that's fine, but I just want to understand how, yeah, okay. As I have an accounting background, I want to know that if that's what you meant. Okay.
On page 3, is memories renewed? Second category from the bottom. Is that something to do with following or finding people?
No,
Because it's right below reads online, and I thought that was maybe, like sometimes you have special equipment that you have to, or things you have to buy for software.
Yeah, I don't know.
we'll check on that.
Okay. No, there's not a question about it. You can just let us know. Any other questions?
Yes. ESPN update.
Somebody's at your doorbell now.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Doug wants to go out.
Any other questions? Now I'll take a motion to approve.
Mike makes a motion to approve as printed.
Mary Kay, I'll second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve in a second. Are there any more questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Corrections Division, Captain Waupaca. Shane, I'm sorry. I crossed you off. I thought I was doing too good too fast.
You crossed me off? We're good, we're good now.
I've crossed them off 2 times.
That's all right. For the month of January, it was 8,767 phone calls for a total, and radio was 59,437 transmissions for a grand total of 68,204. Just to let you know, Susie Eggers is in their second phase now. Everything's going well with her training. And also to make you aware, the comm center has filed an appeal. We filed it with HR in regards to their reclassification. So that'll be coming up.
What does that mean? Followed an appeal with their.
Filed an appeal. They didn't get their reclass. So according to Mandy, we can file an appeal. So we filed the appeal. The questionnaire went back over there with her, and she will be setting up a meeting with the HR committee next month, March. And I'll go before the HR committee and I guess argue the reasons.
Okay.
So just so you're aware.
Thank you. Any questions for Captain DeVille? Now you're truly.
Excuse me just a minute, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
In reference to your question about the memories renewed,
Oh, okay.
Kevin was looking it up and it's a possibility. It's about putting, what I want to say, old, and something on VHS tape to like a DVD or something like that. It could be in reference to our cold case. Because we have a couple of detectives going through old files and there could be interviews and things on old types of media that need to be transformed onto new types of media. That's a possibility that might be what it is. Or else it,
Perfect sense.
yeah, or else it could be our Detective Sergeant Tim Myers, who's one of our digital forensic person, and he puts things from certain media onto newer media as well. It could be one of the two cases.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it. Okay. And like,
As you can see in front of you, we actually have a little report this time. And we talked about last month about the sheriff's report itself and splitting things up between the divisions. So I'll kind of go through this sheet and then we can kind of talk about what you exactly want me to, read out loud or what we can read by ourselves. So basically start on the top, something I added new is booking statistics for the month, which I know Kim will get into a little bit with our Spillman program. There's a lot of things we've learned through really utilizing our reports on Spillman, the accuracy of things. So this is just it's a pretty accurate overview of what's happened inside the jail. So court-ordered booking, that's what happens when they go to the courthouse. They haven't been booked yet and fingerprinted, so they have to come over to the jail and still get fingerprinted and booked and put in our system. Doesn't mean they're actually booked into our, they're not here to stay. That's what court-ordered booking means. That we have to put them on file. New arrests, we had 80 of them last month. Extended supervision sanctions, that's part of probation. So that number is going to fluctuate throughout the year. That's one we get revenue based on. Sentenced inmates, that one I don't feel as accurate as it could be, because we have people that are here and once it's changed to a sentence, once you go to court, they're sentenced at that time. This is actually just new sentence that come in, say on OWI 3rd or 4th directly from court, or they're going to come to Huber. So it's just a pure number that we're giving you. Portage County Safekeepers is 6 and Wood County Safekeepers is 19. Those numbers have been consistently going down throughout last year and this year. A lot of it has to do with Zoom, where we'd be booking in 5-6 people a day, moving them in and out because of court, training sports, etc. Now they're trying to keep more people long haul here, and with the Zoom capabilities, that's actually cut down on the workload, but also increased safety and security of the facility. So that's what we like to see. The middle part is that average inmate population. So these are just averages throughout the month. 192 is a little bit low. It's a good number for us. I've got a breakdown of the male inmates and female inmates. So the 192, we have 114 that are safekeepers. So it kind of shows you what our own population is at. Outside the facility, we have 27, 13 are on GPS, and 14 are out of county, either waiting to get picked up or they're serving somewhere else, but they have to be in custody under us at that time. So 219 total. The fees and revenue collected, a lot of that is similar. The Huber fees are still there, the booking fees. One thing we added was the commissary commissions, which Leah was already quick to point out. So we just thought we'd add that to part of this to show you what we're getting as revenue as part of the vending machines, the commissary sales, everything that's coming in throughout the facility. So, I mean, if you want me to read those totals, I can read the totals. It's up to you guys, but that's kind of what I have in general report.
question.
Yep.
This is for January. So if the January month says 11,780.25, why does year to date only say 11,248.78? Did they take up?
Hey, already. Wait, look at the kiosk one too, the butter. Because those got switched yesterday. And then I moved it off to the side.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
ones that came. Okay.
You're good. So those two, we'll make sure they're amended on there. Yep.
Kevin, can you hear us?
Is Kevin online? Any other questions that you might have? Is there anything else you would like to see in the report? I like this style better. I think it tells us more information that we can process.
Right. Is everybody okay with this then? I mean, it's open for consideration. Change if you guys want to add things.
I like it.
I guess moving on from there, I can just hit a few points of what else we have going on. That one person that we were looking for to hire in May, waiting for school, the sheriff gave a job offer contingent on the psychological and physical. So hopefully she can start a little bit sooner. We have applications due at the end of the week. We still need 2 to hire yet. We're currently utilizing all the new Red Man suits and helmets and everything that we bought. We have training going on for the next month yet, so we have basically the first 8 to 10 weeks of the year we're going to do training. That's going down to the basement. And this consists of POSC, which is Principal of Subject Control. It's based how to handle inmates. CERT, that's a Correctional Emergency Response Team. Basically, if you have something bad enough, we form a team, go in there and handle them. We have Fire and EVAC, SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. So that's what we're currently training on for the next 2 months here. Other than that, their body scanner is up and running. I know Lieutenant Russell is going to talk a little bit about one of our early finds.
So we went live with our body scanner on January 25th. Policies got written, completely live, everybody got trained in it. First guy that went through it that morning, we found a baggie of, it may not seem like a lot, but it's coffee. We don't serve coffee, we don't have caffeine products. So they come from other counties, they try to bring in that stuff. Obviously not as much as the next one that we found. We had a female brought in by deputies on the 2nd of February, went through the body scanner. She had a baby, or a bag in a scale hidden in her bra. And in that, there's a lot of stuff that was in there too. So in that bag, there was 8 hypodermic needles, 3 tin cookers, 3 elastic tourniquets, alcohol swabs, and mini cotton ball filters. So they ended up pulling her out and they did a strip search on her and found more stuff hidden. Another drawstring bag that contained a metal spoon, a key on a lantern, and small black and white colored plastic capsules that contained white powdery substance, a crystalline substance, and then there was a piece of paper containing an unknown substance. I know they were tested. It doesn't say what they tested positive for in the report. But she did admit that the white substance being used was fentanyl. So whether that was tested positive fentanyl, I'm not sure yet, but that was a big find. If she would have been pat searched, and obviously they didn't see it, it's hidden well enough, or strip search, she would have been in her cell with that stuff, and anything could have happened. So other than that, though, everyone's been going through the body scanner. Officers are running them through. They're learning how to read the scans. Takes a little getting used to. I've seen some of the scans. Some of them are really good scans. Everyone's made up differently. You heavier set ones, skinnier ones. It takes a little bit getting used to, but that was a really good find. So I think it saved a lot of issues that we could have had if they would have done it themselves. And then eventually, obviously, up in population. So everybody that comes in is getting scanned. Refusals, depending on if they have something inside them or not, if they do, then we're requiring them to go to the hospital and the doctor's going to have to deal with it. Otherwise, we won't accept them. If they're coming in from other counties where they have to go through body scan, if they're refusing, we're not putting them up in general population until we do. So far, knock on wood, we've had cooperation with everybody going through it. It's basically 7 seconds on a platform. It moves you through the scanner and back, and it takes 7 to 8 seconds. So it's really quick to do. Officers read the body, the scan itself, and then if everything is clear, then they move on to the booking. So I think it's kind of starting to pay off.
I have a question. I think I sort of misunderstood it. You said the scanner showed the first day. Did it show the second day too?
I went back and I looked at the scan, and the second page is hard. It is hard to see. Even when you can change contrast on it, and even changing the contrast, it is a little difficult to see. But obviously with finding the stuff in her bra, it kicked in for them to do a strip search. They would have done anyway, just because of the nature of the charges. And she admitted to the stuff in her bra, obviously because they found it, but she was still claiming there was nothing else, and then they started doing a strip search. So, like, it's, I'm looking at those scans, and that's why I said, like, different body makeups, it can be a little difficult to see, because, you know, especially with women during certain times, you know, it's, you know, if they're getting used to the scans, it's gonna take a lot.
I think it's a good investment that we did to
Yeah.
have that tool to help you.
We've had drugs brought in the pods in the past that could have been caught with this body scanner. And I think now, especially with inmates knowing that we have it, it's a big deterrent too. So somebody that might be hiding something might not do it knowing you're able to the body scanner. And what's scary is with this female is this was a new arrest. This was a traffic or a suspicious complaint. So it wasn't somebody that was already incarcerated trying to hide something. And we're seeing more of that too, where they think or know they're going to get arrested, so they're hiding stuff on them. Bringing it in.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me give that report. That's important.
I would suggest that we take a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have scans. Like when we have, the scans are all saved in the system. So we can bring up scans. We can bring up this scan too.
Are we required to keep them for a certain amount of years or time or whatever?
Yeah, it's all part of the records
Okay.
retention. So, and the database that we have, well, they'll always be there. So they're always saved in the system. They're not recycled or anything. So
Does the person who tries to bring drugs in get a new charge because they're now in possession of whatever they're trying to bring in?
well, like this particular one, there was more charges involved with possession, and it just goes to the arresting officer. So it's just attached to the whole arrest itself. If we do have somebody bring in something that they do make it in the facility they're booked in, there is another charge of introducing that in a correctional facility. And that is another charge that they can get charged with. We've had charged them in the past with
Thank you.
that.
Any questions? Other questions? Yeah.
Let's give you one more quick little side note that we avoided is we had a female inmate that was pregnant and she was getting revocated, but she didn't want to sign her revocation papers because she wanted to have her baby not in prison. So she tried to delay it as long as she could. So she finally signed it thinking she was in the clear. And with the cooperation of the district attorney, the judges, the day she signed, the next day they had her up in court for sentencing. With a little help from the state and the powers to be up there, they pulled a lot of strings. And by the following Monday, we had her en route to Cheetah, to the prison system. Otherwise, we were scheduled, I think, on the 5th of February to have to have her, and then we would have to pay for it as a county.
That's about as close as you want to get. Closest I've ever seen it. Within a few days.
Yeah, wow. Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? For the corrections division. Okay, then we'll move on to the detective.
Okay, for the detective division, the child abuse and sex offense complaints increased in January. There were 3 in the month of December and 7 in the month of January. For the narcotics division, the Sheriff's Office narcotics officers, along with the Department of Criminal Investigation and the Drug Enforcement Agency, made an arrest on 2 methamphetamine sources from the Fox Valley area. And these 2 individuals were responsible for supplying a large quantity of methamphetamine to the residents of Waupaca County. They also were assisted by the Department of Criminal Investigation to investigate a potential methamphetamine lab in the Fremont area. During the course of the investigation, it was determined there was no methamphetamine lab and the tip proved to be false. Thank goodness. And then they are investigating numerous tips received reference the procurement, distribution, and use of heroin and methamphetamine with a subject located in Waupaca County.
Very good. Any questions for Captain Flavin?
Yes, on the child abuse cases, were they
trying to think of which ones there were because we just actually had a few new ones come in. So let me think of the cases. One of them, yes, one of them met the criteria and one of them did not. And the remaining were sex offense cases. The remaining 5 out of 7 were sex offense cases.
I mean, how severe does it have to be to meet criteria?
Leaving marks on the child. And depending upon how it happened, makes a difference.
So they have to get a
Yeah. Is a short way to put it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And then Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, that's.
I'm sure either the sheriff or the chief will expand on it, but our narcotics officers, they used to have their office back here. They're now moved out of their office and they're in the new office, but the sheriff and the chief might expand on that a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you around.
Yeah.
That always do.
I like that idea because if we came early and they were talking even with the door closed, it's never as private as if you're not right next door.
Yeah.
And then they can come and go as they please.
Yeah. Yes.
And when this turns into the dispatch center. Yeah. Good, good. We await your report. Okay, we have the patrol division head up.
January 2021, reportable crashes 27, 48 a year ago, 1 fatality in January, 1 a year ago. Personal injuries 12, 19 a year ago. 34 vehicles in those crashes, 63 1 year ago. Accidents involving drinking, 3 compared to 5 1 year ago. Year-to-date numbers are the same as what I just gave you. Monthly traffic arrests 207 compared to 252 a year ago. 14 drunk driving arrests compared to 12 last January. 18 canine involvements, 27 a year ago. There were no SWAT calls. Monthly and year-to-date driving miles is 76,586. The 1 fatality in January that I mentioned was on January 21st. A 1 vehicle crash on County Highway E, south of Waupaca near the Waupaca County line. Vehicle traveling southbound drove off the road at a high rate of speed. Hit a tree, several trees, killing the driver and the lone occupant. She was a 70-some-year-old lady from Waupaca County, lives on Long Lake in Waupaca County. That is all I have. Okay, Kevin, anything? No. That's all we have.
A question I have is when the dispatch says there's a problem, whatever it may be it fatality or be it drug suspicion or be it an abuse thing, do your patrolmen go there first?
Generally, yes.
Okay, so then who do they call in, or are they trained to do the whole scope of problems?
We try to train them to do at least the initial of everything, but depending on what it is, for child abuse, sexual assault, they know to call the detective captain, and she will assign somebody if she sees fit. If it's a fatal accident, we know to call help in, and most likely state patrol if we need them. So depending on what it is, we know how at least get more people there to help. Yes.
And the coroner? If it's a coroner?
Yes.
At the scene, I mean? Okay, good. I just wondered how, I thought that's what happened. The first one's on
Yep,
the
depending
scene.
on the call. Or if it's we found a meth house or whatever, we know to call the detective captain if you found that drug house.
Okay, okay. Good, thank you. Any other questions on the report? Or the captain? No? Okay, moving on then to the records division report update. Something new?
So like we talked about, we were dispersing Carl's court report that we did. So I'm just gonna give a few things that we've been doing in records. The report on the top is still the same as what we've always given. I just updated that to state that there's bad checks and we really don't get a lot of those anymore. The report or photocopies and the paper service fees collected. The civil papers, we received 51 for the month of January. I thought maybe adding on our canine donations, like the totals for the month. So this would incorporate any donations from the public and also the selling of our plush dogs and calendars. So that's the amount that came in the month of January alone. On our mobile arrest forms, we had a capital improvement last year to start using our mobile arrest forms. We have started to implement those. So that kind of helps out each department. So what happens is the officer makes an arrest, goes on the computer on our Spillman program, check marks that they've been arrested, and then it starts filling in some of the information for the jail. So once they get to the jail, the officer doesn't have to spend as much time in the jail. They can turn them over to the correction staff to continue that booking process. So we're still in the early phases of that because we have to see how it affects each department and anything that we need to change to make it better. Do you want to add anything to that? Or?
I think you summed it up well. And then I think it helps the jail because then part of the fraction of their booking is completed for them as well. So they accuracy for what charges us for requesting.
So we have also Manuel PD is on our Spillman computer with us now. So we've been doing quite a bit of training with them on how the program works and different aspects to get them up on board to be using that. We're also looking at, because our social media, our Facebook is so popular, that's also considered an open record. So we're looking at different avenues on how to maintain that and be able to produce the best record for them if there is a request on that. So we're still kind of searching our avenues on that. The other thing I just wanted to bring up with the yearly or the annual report, we have done a lot of quality control on our Spillman program. Noticing in every division that there's different ways that they're putting things into it to not give us the most accurate numbers. So it's really been an improvement for Spillman to be gathering these numbers for that report, and we realize that it's kind of off. So each division, dispatch, corrections, and patrol, we've kind of been tweaking that a lot to make it more accurate, which is a good thing. The only other thing I have is that it was one of my goals to be able to manage the budget a lot more accurate. So I started putting on, I have a printout of all the line items for, say, corrections, dispatch, patrol, and I'm giving the captains each, like, their budget, how much they've taken out each month, to make sure that I am doing a good enough job coding everything, all the bills, you know. So, like, for example, this month I gave it to Adam and he's like, wait a minute, why is this number this way? So we went into it, looked at it, and we were able to determine that it should have been out of the 2020 budget, and it was coded differently than what it should have been. So we were able to keep that and maintain a more accurate number, which he keeps track of. So I think that's a good thing to make sure that we're allocating the money where it belongs. So other than that, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Any questions for Kim? I think that's a good idea of making sure that things are being put in properly to the right department, and especially at year's end, when things qualify for last year instead of this year. Otherwise, you're at a disadvantage. You don't have as much money as you thought you did.
Right.
And if it doesn't show up in a report, then the report becomes wrong, and that's what you're depending on. So good. Good. Any other comments for Kim? Okay. If not, then we'll move on to the sheriff's office.
they left me something. I get to talk about this place and everything else, so. When it came to the budget, there, Kim does a great job, we're all learning. And we, coming in, the sheriff and myself coming into this, I said, why is that budget such a mystery? Everybody should know what money they have, why they have that money, and if there's ever any increase or decrease, at least we know where it's coming from. And I think you should have a part, and it's training for department heads of the future to know what they're seeing and everything. And if you don't, you're starting out from scratch. And basically that's where I was starting out from. So I just took the suggestions of everybody else, and they're getting familiar with, the coding and what goes into that budget and everything else. So I think it was an advantage, we're trying it, and I think it's a good idea. The other thing I wanted to bring up, a capital project for the future, and we've been talking about this since we walked in. It's not on paper yet or anything else, but the cornerstone on this building says 2001. We've talked about the carpet for a long time, and I mean, this carpet's going to change. This is going to be the new 911 center. But when you walk out of here, you'll see in our hallway, that carpet 20 years, it's been there a while. It's wearing down. We'd have to get some measurements, and we'll have to see if it's a next year project or how we can fit that in. But I think it's time to change some of that around. She's getting beat, and I think that's something to consider. And I wanted to bring it to you and just have your eyes on it first. And like the sheriff said, I think we got to look at that. But then we're going to need measurements. Measurements mean we can get some kind of estimated total and then go from there. So. I don't have anything else, but I'll join in when it comes to the 911 center, just new dispatch center. And some stuff in there too. Any other questions?
Okay, and we'll move on to the medical examiner's report. Kathy?
All right, so we had 31 hospice desks compared to 29 last year, 4 house desks compared to 10 last year, 2 ER under 24-hour desks compared to 4 last year. Injuries, we had 4, same as last year. Suicides, we've had 2 also last year. Nursing home deaths, we had 4, 2 last year. CGRFs or assisted living, we had 1, none last year. Fatalities, 1, and 1 last year. No drownings, no homicides, no fire, no infant, no drug overdose. No other, no disinterments. COVID deaths, the information only is the deaths that happen in another county, but they get counted by Waupaca County. We had 9 for January. We were contacted for 4 cremations, which means that they didn't qualify to be, for our office to be contacted for any other of those criteria except that they were cremations. So I had a total of 62 calls, 54 last year, no autopsies. We did 38 total cremations, which is the cremations that we bill out for. 1 was a county pay, which doesn't get billed out. And we had a total of 15 Waupaca County COVID deaths that were reported.
Go back to your original cremation only thing. I got lost somewhere.
Okay, so we get contacted for a variety of reasons. Person passes away.
Mm-hmm.
Usually if it's a hospice or a nursing home or one of those 2 or a hospital death that's under 24 hours or ER death, we get contacted for those. If a person dies at a nursing home facility and wasn't a COVID, or dies at a hospital because they were there longer than 24 hours, and they are going to be cremated and they died in Waupaca County, then our office gets asked for the cremation permit. So that's why it's just cremation only. We didn't have to do a report on their death. We're just issuing the permit. Yep.
Oh,
and I didn't like how it was
laid out last year because cremations, it's, I don't know. Your issue for your issue, I issued 38 total cremations, but those are lumped into hospice deaths, 24-hour deaths, fatalities, different things like that. So I like this layout better. I can probably tweak it more, but
I just didn't understand it the first time through of what
yeah.
you were trying to say. This was a better explanation.
Because this means that my office was contacted 62 times for 62 different deaths, is what I'm trying to say. So with those deaths, we've also issued cremation permits, which we can charge fees for. So.
Anyone else have a question on cremation?
Does every cremation have to have a permit?
Yes, it does. By law, yes.
So funeral home has to get a permit.
From the coroner's office. Yes.
Okay.
We're the only ones that can issue.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. Good. I like that. Yes. Good morning.
So, I'm gone a month, family matter. So, got some checks here, Kim, but no checks. Blank. Got a check here, but then there's this.
That's just the receipt. I just made a copy of the same thing.
Oh, so it's just $300, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a $300 check from Casper Mart for the K9 unit. What's the fundraiser for filling station?
That's the phone.
Okay, so that's $300.
Yes.
Okay, but there's no copy of the checks, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. A while since I-
Anyway, I got some cash you brought in, $52.95.
Oh, my.
This is the receipt. When you get a check and it's folded, you have the receipt on one side and the check on the other. This is the check. So ignore that part.
Oh, so just 300, and that was it, okay. Just 300, not 300 times 3.
Now the cash was it a special?
I'm not sure, Kim, how's that brought in?
That was just a donation.
Just a donation?
We don't know if they had a big sale or if they collected money from the neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
Saturday afternoon, we had a fatality. 2 trucks collided on Highway 45, north of Highway N, at Coleman Road. So we had one passenger that passed away and the driver of the other truck. So the details Todd can tell you next month. We'll find all the information out from State Patrol because they came out to do the mapping. However, their mapping system wouldn't even fire up because of the cold. So they had to do it by hand, something we haven't seen in a long time. The old fashioned. Yeah.
I remember doing that.
Yeah, and if you worked with the right officers back in the day, he'd say, does that look like 10 feet, Tim? That's old school. Remember, you guys are hot. So, other than that, I appreciate my staff from the lieutenant up, or actually from Kim up. Carl, of course, I appreciate what he did for us the last month. So, that's all I really have until we get to the other items.
And certainly our sympathies to you. Any questions of the sheriff? Anything he hasn't covered? All right, then we'll move on to the dive.
So I don't know what was told last meeting.
It was kind of an introduction with the feedback from the law enforcement committee about wants, needs, and fiscal feasibility as far as that goes. I apologize. We were trying to get some statistics as far as that from one of the fire department dive team members that we have on our slide. Next month we'll have that sheet with a breakdown for you on some of the costs and expenses. We also are trying to figure out, as your suggestion, we have to get out amongst county board members as a whole too, and explain where we're coming from and see if there is a need, you know. I'm pretty sure that's what the sheriff was, that's where we're up to date on that from that last meeting.
Yeah, and we did throw out an email for interest. We have 20 or 21 people interested, in either being a line holder, a line tender, or whatever the proper.
Line tender.
And divers. We have interest. And I know, speaking to some of the folks that were giving us canine donations, it certainly, sure the donation was a dive. And I would actively go out and work on that as well. I do think there's a need for it, but again, it's up to the committee and the county board to tell us if they think there is. So. We'll have statistics next month, hopefully. So.
Will they include, is Waupaca the only place that has a dive team? The city of Waupaca, or do other municipalities have them? I mean, I'd like to know that too. In other words, is Fremont covered, or is Marion covered, or
We'll find out.
is there nothing except the city of Waupaca? Yeah, okay, good. Next month on the agenda then for the dive team. Thank you. Jail medical RFP.
Okay, I have that.
Okay.
So we sent out the RFPs. We do every actual year. Last year, our cost was $681,301. This year, we had a proposal from MEND Correctional Care LLC. Their initial cost for the first year is $1,440,000, $440 and $500. The second year cost went up to $1,476,500. For total cost, the third year though, I guess they have this listed, $1,513,000. So we have almost $4.5 million in 3 years off this one.
Did we ask for a certain length of time?
Yeah, we wanted a 1 or 2, 3 year.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
So current one we have is Waupaca. Their initial cost for this first year went from $681,000 to $818,350. The second year went up to $842,833. Third year cost is $868,169. The total cost is $2,529,000. Change. So it's about half of the first one I read. Now these costs would also include electronic patient information, which currently we don't have. We have a file. And there's a cost to that. I don't know. I mean, that's still not quite $200,000 increase. So they're blaming the cost consumer price index. So, I guess we prefer to stick with Waupaca anyway. I'm glad they came in cheaper because they're already very structured. Like the service. That includes the mental health as well. So I think that was initially $40,000 a year.
Off the top of my head, it's at least that.
Yeah. So that's what we talked about last year. Mary Kay got that passed through, so that's where we're at. So I'm asking for the approval of Waupaca, current service we have already made out there.
When is our policy?
For contract,
Yeah.
comes that up?
In March.
What did you mean when you talked about an electronic patient information?
So-
Do we have to buy equipment to do that, or they include the equipment to do that? I didn't quite get that part.
Well, it's included in this price.
Oh, they have.
RMP.
their- Okay. So then we would be able to go to that as versus, like you say, the file system. that we have.
This information then can be shared with other facilities, where it's send them into a hospital or a doctor, it can be shared instead of a file being brought with them.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
And then certainly they're gonna pass the cost on.
Absolutely.
I would move to approve.
Do you have anything else to add before we?
I think you pretty much summed it up.
And how long is it for?
Well, it'd be for a 3-year contract.
Good.
Which I think is good because it really, like I said, it's half of what this other proposal was.
I think like with most contracts, it'll be 3 years plus additional one, another additional one, up to 5 before we have to go out again.
Is that what we did now?
We'll just say we've been doing that.
I personally, when I first became sheriff, could not believe medical costs $600,000. And now we're at, a 3-year contract at $2,500,000.
If the cost is actually less, will they charge us less?
It's based on the population, so I think they based it off 200. If it goes down towards the 175, the price reflects accordingly. But if you also go over a certain one over 200, it's adjusted. So we get I think it's a quarterly adjustment of what we have to pay, a little bit more, a little less. So last year we were a little bit less because of COVID. So
Because there are new people on the board, please explain to us what this all includes, like the staffing and whatever.
So we have 24/7 nursing, which is a huge benefit to the county, I believe. Before we had 24/7 nursing, we rely on our sergeants trying to make medical decisions based on people through the middle of the night, diabetics, seizures. I mean, anything that came in, especially the new arrests, we're not trained to try and deal with who's coming in and try and decide what they're on or what they're not on. So that's just a big benefit for us to add part of the 24/7. The mental health is huge, getting that up. They want more hours if they could. Even based on our size facility, we're kind of on the lower end of the hours for mental health. Some smaller facilities have 60 or 80 hours. We're at 40. It's just trying to get the people more involved and try and help them out before they return to society. The doctor comes around, once a week, but he's always on call to try and run by the prescriptions through what we need to get approved and not approved. But generally, in a nutshell, that IRMA, which is the medical records keeping, is going to be a huge benefit. We have a room half the size of this that's just loaded up with files and boxes. And when they have to try and look up anybody, try and see where they're in the past, what they got, and they're trying to spend so much time shuffling through all that, where it's going to be a huge benefit. And like the sheriff said, the sharing is going to be huge. So, we're very happy where we're at. We had a good personnel this time. So
You can just push a button at some point and it'll come up the records instead of looking for them.
right, you just look it up and it's there at your fingertips.
And you're protecting the county from a huge liability.
In case you made a wrong decision, yeah.
And that's and they do all the med passes throughout. I mean, the nurses handle everything. The officers, but the medical people do the medical, and we handle our side of it.
How long have we had them as a supplier?
Basically, since we've opened up the facility, their name has changed 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't strayed from them yet.
So we know them, they know us.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you get a second on the medical insurance?
I'll second that.
As Cindy seconded that. The approval. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carried to approve the RFP of Waupaca for 3 years plus. Thank you. Annual report update.
So I reviewed the annual report Monday for the first time. We're coming right along. We've got pretty much everything. As far as the way it's going to be shown on the PowerPoint in your packets, it's all laid out great. It's done at the communication center and work our way down because of the first initial call. Kevin did a great job on all the graphs. Whoever else helped out here with
getting the information. Thank you. But it's looking good. It's got a few little tweaking to go and we should be up and ready to go for the first annual report. We're trying not to make it too good because we don't want you to have great expectations. But no, as we progress, we'll make it even better. The first one, so.
And did we stay within budget? I mean, typically your annual report talks about what you do as well as, did we meet our budget to the amount, or were there special circumstances where we needed to, spend money to do something else? Or come under budget?
We'll try to get that.
We were talking about that yesterday, that we want that number. I believe we were on for sure,
Well, and especially if Kim is starting to let every department know, where they are in the year, it sort of helps you out. And if we've never done that before, and you really don't, I don't pay attention to it, I don't see it, it's like, sort of want to know, how did we do?
We want to know that, and we've done it, Carl and I were watching our budget every month.
Yeah.
If not twice a month. We're actually like a cheerleader team, We did good. So, hopefully in the end we did well.
And you don't want to run your department just for a budget. I mean, you want to do the job, so you got to know if it's costing more to do an efficient job or not. But to me, people always talk budgets. I always get, it's just a number. But you want to know if you're in the ballpark, but just I don't want to come in within $10 of my budget, don't make much sense to me. So you want to make sure
That's what I
you're
was-
doing your
That's all
job.
it builds trust among the county
Well,
board members and the
yeah,
community.
yeah.
When you actually pay attention to your budget,
Yeah.
it's not carte blanche, I can just do whatever I want.
Right, yeah.
That's why I always kind of looked at it as wants, needs, and critical, it all depends on, the time of year, what's going on and stuff like that, but yeah, don't go crazy over budget.
No.
For sure, but, it's very interesting, the operation this is, I see how cities and everything else, get caught up in that, but
I mean, let's face it, there are unexpected expenses, unexpected overtime due to personnel being off. Can't control those.
Right. Yeah.
What we can control is what Carl said. Needs, wants, and criticals.
Yeah.
We all want stuff. Right?
Well, and I think with 2020 being the year that it was, the training probably took a different path. But is it as good as when they're really there? And it's sort of like kids in school. I think the social part of it that they need to learn is important. And maybe for the officers, it isn't, that you can get from Zoom what you need to have. So we didn't have to pay the travel, we didn't have to pay the motel, but yet we need that training available to everybody. And while it impacts the budget, there's certainly, like you say, other places where unforeseen things happen that we can.
training is where there's the big savings. I mean, I don't like, that's one area you wish you could spend on. We doubled that the year before.
Yes.
And we have so many new officers in that patrol division, 1 and 2 years experience, and they should be getting trained. Way over what they are. And that goes throughout the whole department, jail, everybody, dispatch and everything. But there's where your big savings was, because that's why we did that, because we're, blowing that one line item up every year, and we thought a more respectable number, and here we end up with a year like last year, where everybody was held back for almost 6-7 months,
Good, well, thank you.
And we're still seeing cancellations on face-to-face training, so it's not over yet.
Okay.
Add,
Yes.
just add something, please.
Yes.
I mentioned this in our county board meeting recently, and I mentioned it before that recently. I just want to thank all the departments, professionals, for their budgeting, for their willing to sacrifice for the overall county budget. And really, they work together as a team. And of course, Heidi has been such a plus. She's almost like a budget administrator, but in a nice way. If we've got questions on our budget or things we may need, basically our professionals will talk to Heidi and see if it's possible. You don't find this in very many counties because they're all against one another and they're all fighting for their share. And you really don't see that here in the last number of 10 years, I don't think. And what you're doing is saving a county a $150,000 position in administrator because you're all administrating towards the county budget, towards the county dollars. You really are. I've never seen a group work together so closely as a team. Well, sure, it's not 100%, but working together along with we supervisors, and we've got a great bunch of supervisors working together with the department heads. And really, people are saving the county a lot of money. And to get an administrator in here at this point would be not a good idea. It'd be a big expense and probably even cause more risk among the professionals coming in and telling you how to run your department and all that type of stuff. I'm really so proud of the way we've been working together the last number of years and the way things have turned out. You don't find that in other counties. I was talking to a county board chair recently at a East Central meeting. He's a new county board chair. And he's so upset with this county because they don't want to spend any money. We're not paying our people enough. All we are is a training center. You guys grab them. Everybody grabs their people. And so we got to get off this old conservative bit and start paying our people for the job they do. And so, and of course, then he's got the old style supervisor there. Oh no, we can't go spending. No. Certainly not going to bond or borrow. Oh no. So anyhow, I'm just saying we're so lucky to have all of us here working together as we do.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, then we'll move on to the update on the new dispatch center.
I'm God. Well, so I know Cindy's new in here, and Lee, and this is the training room, and this is where the new dispatch center is going to be. This is one half of it. That wall's coming down, and that was a training room, and it was also my home for about 7-10 years while I was working on the coal fields. So I opened the door, get the musty smell out of it, but you can walk in there, and if you can imagine, let's take this oval here, or this rectangle, kind of transpose it this way. This will be sort of what the dispatch center is going to be looking like. It'll be an oval up on a deck between these two rooms. Tom Powlett, or Venture Architects, called me, and on the 24th of this month at 10 a.m., they call it a kickoff meeting, and they want to meet with all the parties, as far as the sheriff's office. And I also invited Brent Whalen and Ron, and they really appreciated it because, the networking, the electricity, the ceiling, everything about this building, they have to know. And then especially Brent appreciated it to be on the ground floor. So on the 24th, they're coming. I thought we were going to just sit around a table and talk, but now they're talking, they want ladders and everything else. So they want to look around and everything else. So that would be the architects that'll figure this all out. They have, artist representations of what it might look at. And I think I brought them, a year or so ago. So it's moving along up to that point. And then, just so you know, when you were talking about the walkthroughs and all that other stuff, after the project's completed, the old dispatch center will be the new meeting room and training room, which will be a nice setting with the windows and the way we're going to set it up. So there is no walkthroughs there. There's only one door in there, and I think it'll be, with the windows around it, it'll probably be one of our best looking training rooms we have, really. And secured hallways, and that's where we are right now. We'll know more, I guess, coming on the 24th, we'll give you, an update after that kickoff meeting, so about what's going on, if they have any timetables about this, and, we'll just keep you updated. You have anything else?
No, the only, just for the ones that are new here, what's gonna happen is, as Carl said, this wall's coming down. That doorway over there is gonna get blocked off. And those doors to the locker rooms are gonna be key carded, so unwanted personnel cannot come in from the locker rooms into the comm center. Sergeant's office is gonna be right there, so the sergeants will have access right to the comm center. If you know what hits the fan, they can come out of their office and help out. That'll be secure doorway. It's, also, we talked about, a kitchen area for, because they're here 24/7. They're here, you know, they're trying to cook in the break room. They're trying to cook in the comm center. It's a fiasco. So having a kitchen area for them to cook right there, you know, we're gonna plan on having like some type of a heat diverted hood over the oven. But if, you know, if it gets busy, they can come out of the kitchen and get right back onto the comm center and take care of their call, and then go back and check on their casserole or whatever they're making. So that's one of the plans we've got in the making also, so.
It's nice, some of these, attachments, as far as where the kitchen probably will be, and the locker room and the sergeant's room are already pretty much, except for knocking walls down and refitting them. It's surprising this is laid out this good, really. You know, when the original people actually that built this big, Tom Paulette and John King, they're familiar with this, which really helps, and they just said this is a very nice setting to have that in here, really.
When you said 24/7, you don't mean they're on shifts for 24.
No, but they're on shift for 12 hours, 12 hours shift.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've got people coming in here at 5:30 in the morning and, well, they'll make their breakfast.
No,
They'll make
that's
their lunch.
understandable.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you had like 3 8s or whatever.
No, no.
2 12.
We've got 12-hour shifts. They're 6 to 6, 6A, 6B, 6B, 6A.
So how many are actually working at one time?
Minimum 2, try to keep 3 as much as possible. Because when we go with 2, it's inevitable. It's a disaster. Something's gonna happen and we're either calling somebody in. I mean, we had it one night where we were down to 2, one got extremely sick, ambulance had to come and pick her up. One gal was down here by herself. One of the road sergeants from the road came in, put on some headphones, called me, I came down. So having 3 at all times would be beneficial, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Any other questions?
Are you planning on any place for them to rest? I mean, take a break and put their head down, or I know that, I think on occasion when it's warmer out, they'll come and sit in their car in a parking lot just to get away from it all for a half hour.
Only thing we've got planned right now is in the kitchen area. We're thinking a table with some chairs, they can close the door. They can still see out if something's going on, but
Sure.
you know, they can close the door there and just get away from it all. Yeah. Another thing we have planned also is in that corner, because the comm center itself is going to be elevated. So there's going to be, we were talking ramp, but then Tom was talking maybe just a 7-inch step up. To make it handicap accessible, we would port over to that corner. So if somebody, you know, on crutches, wheelchair, whatever, they could work in that section, still be in the comm center, working in that corner, working with a workstation.
Now, you got 2 people on. Are we budgeted? Go back to budget. Can you have three people in the budget then to cover it all, or is that wishful thinking, or, you know, how are you staffing it, and how's your budget then?
One of the things that we've got one other person that we could hire. However, with the reclass, we don't know where if they win their appeal and get reclassed, is there gonna be enough in the budget for our next person? We don't know.
Well, I think that's something that's gonna be thought about, you know.
Because,
Two people out or three people
Well,
out.
here's the problem. People take vacations.
Well, no.
You gotta get someone to fill that spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could get enough personnel in there to always have three. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And eventually we're gonna have to have that.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of calls that we get. Increase.
And then, you never know, I don't think it's gonna happen now, but when Clinton wants to come on board and say, okay, you're dispatching for us.
Yeah.
So we've got to hire more people then. I know the previous administrator, that was their plan. I don't know about this girl, I think she's lightened up and all that now, so.
Well, currently, we're doing most of New London's. That's why we have this filming screen up here. So we're already have an increase in workload during certain hours of the day. From 6 p. to 6 to 8 a.
6 p. to 8 a. Monday through Friday. And Fridays at 6 p. we have New London all the way through till 8 a.m. on Monday. So we have all of New London on the weekends.
So we could probably use an additional 2 dispatch. Telecommunicators, easy.
So do they pay partial for that? New London, do they give you money for that? No.
Their budget doesn't allow it. By state statute, they could just say, you know what, we don't have any dispatch, it's yours. Same with Clintonville. Oh, yeah. Same with, any police department could say, we're no longer having a police department. We already do handle calls for Iowa, Marion, Manawa, Fremont. We assist in
Waupaca
Waupaca.
Waupaca City used to have dispatch when it first started.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We assist
Yeah.
because they don't have anyone on. Right now, Iowa is, I don't know when they're working, they only have 2 guys. The chief retired, they made 1 guy the chief, and they never hired a third. So, no part-time.
Clinton does dispatching for Marion.
But we can't charge nobody, or that don't seem fair, but I mean, but good to know. I mean, but so then, you then have to start, it looks like we're gonna have to start thinking about making provisions for more people in your budget.
I mean, you guys were really, you gave us a lot of people last year, which we appreciate. We certainly didn't ask for anybody this year. That was my promise to, one of the county board members.
That's why we're figuring that dispatch center went for 20 years with a 6-station dispatch center. When we had the first proposal on consoles, or what they call it, furniture, which was confusing, we went to an 8 because we figured if it's going 20 years, future expansion with the amount of municipalities that we're probably going to be with, personnel will be the issue, and personnel is more expensive than equipment. So, in the long run with roads and everything else, what you end up with.
That was gonna be my question, the visioning part of it. Is New London and Clintonville the only 2 that have their own dispatch, and we handle everybody else?
Correct.
So if we're taking on New London now, certain times, and Clintonville, certain times,
Clintonville, we don't take over.
we don't take over. Okay, so then is that factored in then to our 8-person station, or what, how many
Yeah.
stations do
Yeah.
we have?
But you gotta remember, we have to fill that with spots. So if Clintonville said tomorrow, we're no longer dispatching,
Mhm.
we would immediately need at least 2.
Yeah.
And with Shane going in and arguing for the reclass,
for more money. Which money seems to be part of the reason they want to work here, but not all. But you hire someone, you bring them through the whole entire FTO program, either the day that they're on their own or a week before. They quit because they get a better job offer at the public sector. We just spent how many dollars training that person? So if you factor all that in, we're losing money.
What is what is their starting salary or
It
hourly
was
wage now?
19, I'd have to look quickly, I think it was like 1938.
Okay, and what are we going for class? Oh,
Well, it would be going from a class 6 to a class 7, which would be, oh, we just looked at it, Carl, what was it? You know, we never have turnover on patrol. Unless they're moving for family or whatever. Right now, we started at 1933. We're very competitive. 2111. 1933 to 2111.
That's starting. The top is 2485 now and 2715 if they get the reclass. So 2485 now.
What is patrol start?
That's their contract, so I'd have to get to their contract.
I mean, because you just said we don't have a problem with patrol, but we do with dispatch. So
Plus, if we have a patrolman coming from a sheriff with X amount of experience, they come here after probation or after FTO, they bump up.
So,
We don't have that way.
but, you know, there's 11 steps in the counties to get to top.
right.
Patrol, there's 3 tops.
Oh,
Like the sheriff was just saying, if they come with a certain amount of experience, they'll jump to 95 or 100 right away after FTO.
okay.
But patrol starts 85%, 2561. I'm sorry, I'll give you 2021, 2612. Then their top pay is 3073. Now, just this contract, oh, there's a patrol 2 pay after 7 years, it's a little higher. But that's the start.
I just wanted to know, but I understand both jobs are totally different. One involves a gun, going out at night. And one involves staying behind a locked door. You know what I mean?
Where you can't leave, you're trapped for 12 hours. You get people yelling at you, screaming at you. The stress level is sometimes.
It's always an emergency, but, well, maybe not. Like some people call about their cat being up a tree or something.
I don't know.
That's what
I
they
know I
perceive
could
as
not
an
do that
emergency.
job. I don't know anyone in here that could, other than the people I already worked with.
Yeah.
Like the Emmy and Jane, Kim. But Kim can speak at the stress level of just being in those locked in rooms. This is gonna be a breath of fresh air because you're gonna double your size. You're gonna have an escape room. It's just gonna be nicer. We're hoping that helps a little bit. But again, the reclass would help too a little bit, but
Well, and I don't like the idea, like you say, it's always been a proven fact that to train a person and to get them in, they're far more valuable. It's easier to get the employee an increase than it is to sort of train somebody else coming in that doesn't want to stay. But we have good people working here, so hopefully we can continue to keep them or attract them.
sure, like one of the telecommunicators. Cole Emily, she came from Brown County. And she, realistically, she'd go right to the top bank. She's had so much experience, she's been in a bunch of agencies. But she's not.
And I like the fact that I know when it happened. I couldn't see it when Union wanted to go to 3 12-hour days. I'm talking about patrol, and we didn't. How could they work 12 hours all at once? But I think you had a young department then, and they were, yeah, they could. And so that, in other words, they're off a lot of days a week, and they're helping Clintonville. They're not working in the county, they're helping in Clintonville at night, whenever they're on. So that gives them a lot of opportunity to do other things too. fact, one of your men worked, I believe, Sunday night at Glendale.
Joe?
Yep. Am I right or wrong in that, Paul? 3 hour shifts?
Once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, every other week they'll work 3 in a row.
Okay,
Yeah, there's, I mean, you work half the year.
Yeah.
What it comes down to. Now you're working a 12-hour shift. You know, when you talk about the young department, now it's really young.
Just one thing, if I may add, I know they kind of hit on it briefly too, and it's the big picture, but you talk about losing everybody to the private sector, or not everybody, some people in the private sector. With 11 step, like Captain Rasmussen said, is actually 15 years, 14, 15 years of top out, where private sector 3, 4, 5 years probably be topped out, where you may like it here, but it's going to take you so long to get to where you actually have more potential pay, you're going to leave. So, I mean, I know it's something that we always, it's been brought up some years after the other, but maybe looking at trying to eliminate some of those steps so it can be done in the 11 years instead of 15. I think after step 7, it's every other year you get your pay. So.
And I don't agree with that. You know, I know you pay a bunch for that. Is it Pittman? Carlton Pittman study? So what? You still can make up your own minds on how you should proceed with this. So when you're stretching people out 15, 17 years before they even reach top pay, that's almost unfair. So.
we're not so different in the private sector, so I can't comment.
Yeah, but usually the private sector, the owner of the business, it's all
Maybe he works. He's still working.
Any other questions on the new dispatch center? Are there any dance offers?
There is one. From the Wolf River Campground, Janet quickly applied for just dance.
Question on that. What designations you have to have a dental permit, because we just approved one of zoning, we're gonna have 6 wedding events a year. And, with 160 people maximum, and I asked whether they needed a dental permit, and nobody seemed to know the answer.
Who's that?
On the old road.
Yeah, they would need a permit.
Yeah, well, and I told them to come and see you, but
Yeah, if they don't have a permit, they can't do it.
well, we gotta make sure it's zoning that we,
I'm surprised zoning wasn't on.
well, he was there, I was there, but I asked, I said, because there was a limited 6 events a year, and I said, we're gonna have weddings, 160 people maximum. And it's gonna be an old barn, the rest
Public or private?
well, it'll be
It's a public event.
it's a wedding.
Yeah, it's in our ordinance. If you ask the county clerk, she can, or you can go online and look up.
Well, I just wanted, because I brought that up, I just wanted to, if they came, because Ryan said, I said, well, go see the sheriff, sure, so nobody has to know whether it's right or wrong.
Jill would know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Ryan didn't seem to want to have the answer, I
Again.
because then when they, okay.
Build a
there's-
building too big, and you'll find out.
Well, and it has to be well engineered and approved. And all that. Somebody's gonna know the answer here, yeah. Okay.
Do we have a motion on that? We have a, or to approve Wolf River Campground.
I'll second it.
Very
Leave it.
good. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And before we adjourn, let us put tour for our next meeting, because then everybody will know that we're legitimate when we go walking around, and that we're still.
I leave my knife at home.
I'm still like you walk in this room.
You can go on the scanner.
And it does show everything. I mean,
Uh-oh.
It showed the screws in my leg. It showed the bone missing. It showed where I broke my bone.
Moves to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll say that.
3 seconds, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
No, aye.
Can we go on there?
Doesn't show soft tissue.
Shut
A little bit.
So can we invite you into this room?
I'm fine, I've been in there before.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.